Come on up, Tyler. Okay, so what I've got here is I got my poster board, I got some markers. Each of you can take a marker, okay? And I'm going to write on the poster board a certain word, okay? And then you're going to take your markers and try to cover it up so that, like, we can't see what that word is, all right? Pretty straightforward, right? So, all right, you can read that, right? It says the word sin. So, take your markers and see if you can cover it up, all right? Scribble all over it, try to hide it so that no one can see what it says. Good work. It's getting kind of messy. All right, I'll give you 10 more seconds. Do 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 do. Oh, I think time's up. Okay, so take a seat again. All right. What do you think? Can you see it? Not really. Okay. But here's the deal. I can see it. See that? Yep, there's the I. Yep, there's the N. So from a distance, it's a little harder to see it, right? But I can still see it. You tried as best as you could to cover it up, right? You did a pretty good job, actually. But you know what? Now we got a big, ugly mess. It's kind of ugly, isn't it? Kind of like modern art, you know? You just scribble and say it's valuable, right? You know? Yeah. You tried your best to cover it up, but you couldn't, right? Now, what we just did here can illustrate something in our lives, too. See, sometimes when we've done something wrong, when we've sinned, because we don't want others to know about it, we try to hide it, right? We might try to cover it up, and maybe we'll tell lies, you know, to try to hide from others what we've done. And sometimes what happens is we do something wrong, and then we do a bunch of other things wrong, trying to hide it, and what we end up with is a big, ugly mess, right? And see, what we learn in the Bible is that, and we're going to look at the example of King David today. What we learn in the Bible is that, well, we should do our best not to sin, right? We should try to obey God in all things. But when we do sin, we need to bring that to God and humbly and honestly confess that to God. And if we need to talk to others about the sin too, we need to do that too. But we should not try to hide it and cover it up. Because what happens is one sin leads to another, and before you know it, we got a big, ugly mess. And that's what happened with King David. In many ways, King David is a good example, but he wasn't perfect. And we're going to look at a story where David did something wrong, and he didn't want people to find out, and so he did a bunch of other things that were wrong to try to cover it up, and it made a big, ugly mess, and it affected a lot of people in a really bad way. And so as we think about our lives too, you know, we should seek to honor God and obey God in all things, but when we sin, we shouldn't try to cover it up and hide it, because what we'll end up doing is making a really big, ugly mess, make it even worse. We need to bring those sins to God, confess our sin, and then we can rejoice in the forgiveness that God gives to us through faith in Jesus. So thanks for coming up, and we'll leave this up, kind of a visual reminder, right? Don't try to cover up your sin. It just makes a big, ugly mess. All right, thanks for coming.